Mitchell Stankovic and Associates and the Underground Ideas into Action presents The Underground Chats, authentic conversations with credit union thought leaders. Today's chat focus on people and culture with Erin Mendez, President and CEO of Patelco Credit Union.
Oh, it's so good to see you.
I know. I can't, I'm really looking forward to third quarter. Hopefully, a lot of people are vaccinated and we can actually be in person in some things. This disconnection is, I think, driving people nuts, including myself. So.
Yeah. So how is the family? How is your credit union family? How are you guys doing?
Oh, I think, first of all, my personal family, everything's great. Everybody's healthy. I'm lucky. My three sons are very conscientious and take everything seriously as their wives. And so, they've been very good about making sure that they stay healthy and they do the right things to stay healthy during this time. So I'm fortunate. From a family perspective, everything's great. From a Patelco perspective, it's been interesting. We've had last year in 2020, we did have 30 of our team members test positive, but no serious illness. So we've been very fortunate for that as well. So, but it's been, interesting trying to get through a health crisis through all of this. So. But everybody's doing well.
Well, I think that it's a testament, if you will, to your team and to what you're doing with the leadership. What took place? I mean, we were all in DC together, right? And at GAC, and all I kept thinking when we got back home is that I hoped we weren't a super spreader,
Well, we wouldn't have known it though, right?
It's so true. So, at our undergrad in DC, we talked about Maslow's hierarchy, and we talked about the fact that there's life stages, and we all went back to our homes, and with the pandemic, we all went to a life stage where we're taking care of each other, supplies, all of that. What happened? Did you guys go virtual right away? What took place with Patelco? How big are you now?
Oh, well, we ended the year at $8.4 billion.
Wow.
So,
congratulations.
much larger than we had expected or anticipated. And, a little larger than I would have hoped because now 10 billion is too close. So, but that's the way the ball bounces when you have these kinds of situations. It was really interesting because I think, the unprecedented nature of the pandemic, you had to figure it out as it went, and you had to figure it out quickly. And the rules changed, whether they were national rules or state rules or county rules. And in some cases up here in the Bay Area, we had city rules we had to conform to. And so there was a lot going on and changing with that. We kept our branches open the whole time. Now, we've had to close a few here and there for a couple weeks as we had to work through some issues when a team member tested positive. But for the most part, we kept our branches open the whole time. And then the rest of the team went remote, other than a handful of team members where we needed to have them at headquarters because there was just some things we just could not do remotely, like cut checks as an example. Or we just needed to make sure we could facilitate certain signatures that on certain type of transactions and just make sure we were doing it as expeditiously as we can. So there was maybe about 30 team members that maybe worked in headquarters off and on, not constantly. And then the rest of the organization went remote. So, and we were fortunate because, well, fortunate's an interesting word now. In December of 19, we moved into a brand new building that we purchased. kind of been empty a lot. So that's why I said the word fortunate is kind of interesting at this stage. But at that time, we went to an environment where whole headquarters went on laptops so that the team could move within the building and work in different areas. So when we had to deploy them to be really remote, at least we had a vast majority of the team already on laptops. And then for the rest of the team, our contact center is actually in a different location. You know, we had to really scramble and get laptops and get them remote as quickly. So we were pretty much remote within 2 weeks. So yeah, we were very, very fortunate, because I know a lot of other credit unions really struggled more and it took longer to do that. So that part worked pretty well. And dealing with, you know, all the rule changes and guidance and all that, you know, that was just work. And, you know, you just get the team together, you get task force together, you get people focused on it, and, you know, it gets done. So that was good. I think the biggest roller coaster for us last year, though, was just the environment and the refi environment and the up and downs. And you have members who are refi twice because of the interest rate environment, and, you know, and then you're bringing in all these new loans and the other loans are running out the door. So watching both the front end and the back end, you know, it was a very, very interesting year in that regard. So.
Well, I was looking at your financials through September, and I see over 12% growth, but you've also maintained your net worth over 10%, where I'm seeing that decline much more within the industry. So your management in that area had to be very balanced, Erin. I've always admired you for that. So tell me about that, because you're saying that lending changed, the complexity of it changed. Were you doing PPP loans? Is it primarily refis? What was happening there?
Well, you know, in our market, mortgage and refinance in these types of situations will go crazy, and they did. And honestly, we could have done so much more, but we just didn't have the resources to do more. But we did have a strategy to sell a lot of retain servicing, but sell a lot of conforming or high conforming loans. And we really focused on high conforming loans. So our net worth was really aided in a lot of selling of loans. Also, I would tell you, we engaged with ALM First to help us hedge our mortgage pipeline. And they did a fabulous job. And, you know, we also had a lot of earnings because of hedging gains. Now, that wasn't the strategy, but that was the result. And I think I give ALM First a lot of credit in helping us do that and being very successful with that. So we did go down in loan growth last year, even though we generated a lot of loans. But we did sell a fair amount to keep our net worth intact to the degree that we could keep it intact. But I will tell you, at the end of the year, we dipped below 10%. You know, that stimulus that came out at the end of the year, we had $40 million extra in December. We didn't anticipate, and there goes the dip, right? But, you know, we probably ended the year about 9.85 in net worth. So we're in a good position. We're in a good position.
You're in good position, and that means you grew even more than what I've seen through September.
Yep.
So, you know, before we leave that subject, I want to just ask a follow-up question. So you're saying your colleagues, even the big over 5 billion credit unions that are their net worth's hovering around 8. What do you think the pressure is going to be in 2021 from an industry standpoint in looking at that? Or do you think NCUA and the examiners are going to stay with this and know that it's going to take a couple of years?
Well, I think the biggest impact last year on share growth wasn't the stimulus. It was the lack of spending. And so what happened is people saved stimulus And then they stopped spending, so they really saved money. So when we did our analytics, it was the spending issue or the lack of spending issue that really caused more of the growth than stimulus did for us. So it's, to me, 21 is a function of spending. Now, spending started picking up the last half of the year. The question is, what's it going to do right now? So, you know, being in California, we were early into shutdown, and we are in shutdown right now. And so those impact spending big time as well. So it just depends on how quickly they can get through the surge that's going on right now, and the vaccination distributed and actually given to a vast amount of people. You get through that, you get spending back to where it needs to be, and you get a lot of openings and businesses and a lot more employment than that we have right now in California. And honestly, we're fortunate to be in Northern California as opposed to the LA area that really is having some massive devastation right now handling the surge of COVID. So,
I was thinking it's a very serious time, but I also started to smile when you said that about spending, because I know that I haven't been out to have a dinner or a bottle of wine, and so the whole idea, if you will, that all of our lifestyles have shifted. Nevada, we're in Nevada, and so we're experiencing similar, but we have a significant number of Californians that are coming into Nevada right now because we are still somewhat open. I mean, it's definitely a changed world, but so that's interesting. So consumer spending is going to drive it. Well, when you think about how this then affects your priorities for 2021, are you going to go back? Are you going to go forward? Are you going to push, you know, to new heights? What are your thoughts about the next year?
well, really, honestly, I think our priorities are still our priorities. Our number one is our mission performance. And our mission is very easy. It's to build members' financial health and well-being. And if we do that and stick to that, it's going to be easier to get through these kinds of difficult times. And so mission performance for us is number one. Number two, within mission performance, is we have got to be our members' first choice for borrowing. And so we have to do the right things that make us their first choice. And then if we don't do the loan, shame on us. So we do need to build easy ways to make it easy for the members to choose us and to deliver and get them what they need. I mean, there's still lots of borrowing needs out there, and we need to make sure that we're fulfilling those. So, and then just generally speaking, I think the one thing this pandemic has done is it's created so much pressure on individuals that if you do stuff that makes it a hassle, they just can't take anymore. So we really have huge focus on removing all the hassles that we can possibly do because people don't need it and they can't take it. And it creates more problems. So we've always tried to make it easier to do business with us, but I'm telling you, I think the pandemic has made that even more heightened because it's too much emotional overload and no one needs an obstacle right now. So we have initiatives around how to make it easier, how to get rid of old rules that have been embedded or just don't make sense. So those are probably our biggest priorities to move forward. And yeah, I get that everything's shifting to digital, but not everything really is shifting to digital. So to give you an idea, in March and April last year, our branch traffic was reduced 50%. No big surprise. And everywhere I read, this is the shift to digital, it's not coming back. Well, by September and October, 90% of our branch traffic was back. So we were still operating at a 90% level that we did in 19. I have to say, shocked me, I don't get it sometimes because, we have a great digital platform. We've done a lot in that area, but I've kind of come to the belief that people need connection. And it was a legitimate way to have some kind of connection. And so and we would talk to people in the branches. They say, oh no, I'm on your digital. I just wanted to come in today. So it's just amazing that you have to really understand kind of the psyche of what's going on out there. And you're managing through that as well, I think. So
that's a fascinating point. I think that we maybe in some ways take for granted how important trust is in the financial services and our relationships, but it's also a trust that goes deeper. It's like a value, a part of people's, day-to-day lives, the social connection. And, when you hear those kind of comments, that's, it's heartwarming for me. So, how's the member base? What are you seeing there? I know that I've talked to a couple of CEOs where they're, the people that are doing well, but the people that aren't, we have issues.
I honestly think last year has created a larger divide between the haves and the have-nots. There was a study, and I'm not sure I'm going to get this correct, but it's the gist of it. That was done last year, I think the second half of last year. And it was a national study that basically said if people were making $60,000 more, their impact on unemployment was like 3.5%. If you were making less than $30,000, your impact on unemployment was like 29%. So, and if you think about that, the type of businesses that have been impacted really are the more lower paying type of businesses, hospitality, restaurants, those type of things. So on one hand, that's no surprise, but it's startling numbers when you think of it. And so you also have to think of, my gosh, the stock market last year was great. And the haves that are invested in the stock market are doing well. And those who aren't are struggling because they're hitting the height of the unemployment and they already have a lower income level. So that divide to me is just incredible, and something needs to be done at some level. But what we do at Patelco is we are very, very focused on helping members emotionally understand their money and logically understand what they need to do. We were just like any other credit union in the sense of the number of loan deferrals that we did. We did special loans to help people bridge themselves through difficult periods. We have a bridge loan just to get them through unemployment because California couldn't figure out how to get unemployment checks out for 2 months. I mean, there is just the massiveness of the situation. I think at California, the peak of unemployment was over 16%. And in November, we don't have December's, but in November, it was still over 8%. And then you went into lockdown. So, I'm sure it's probably higher. So, when you can't get unemployment checks out, then we're bridging those loans as well. So, there was a lot we just needed to do to help people, and you had to figure it out and you had to do it quickly. And guess what? Sometimes you didn't have the time to do any of the analytics. You just had to do it because it's part of your mission and who we are to serve.
Well, it's impressive, and I know that it takes your whole team to deploy it. One of my thoughts, to go off on a quick little tangent, is when we overlay people of color and we overlay women on the service level positions. I've been keeping an eye on those, those stats as well. And, the disparity that we already knew exists is, definitely going to be even greater into the future. So I love the fact that your culture drives your response, and the mission, financial health and well-being, is it combines the emotional side of things as well as the practical. So when you think about, recently when I was reading all the articles about 2020 and, what changed and so on, the innovation part of the world reminded me of the Tom Peters and the whole blinding flash of the obvious concept that there are things right in front of our face that we've known about, but we haven't necessarily executed. And so I was just curious if you had any BFOs this year that you'll be deploying.
I think one of the things we realized in the middle of handling the situation last year was we didn't have 3 or 4 or 5 delivery channels. We had one. We might have had 5 or 6 accesses or how you access that delivery channel, but we had one. And so last year we really had to act as one. So when our branch traffic dropped, our branches got on phones. When mortgage needed assistance, our branches were making numbers who I'd get letters from. Oh, I talked to so-and-so. I know she's in the branch. That was wonderful talking to her on the phone. So it was just a really interesting thing to think about. No, we have one delivery channel. And we have got to figure out how to coalesce around one and manage the access points. So I think that was our big aha and our shift. And we're really shifting internally to do that much more. That it's not about independent delivery channels or the way Omni delivery channel is talked about. It really is, you've got people as one, and you've got to manage the access points so everybody knows everything and can move easily and quickly. What that requires is a difference in systems. And what I mean by that is you have to have, we're moving to a commonality of enterprise systems so that the training of team members and the movement of team members according to how the work flows, it's easier to get people up and running. So when you have an independent mortgage system from a consumer lending system, that doesn't help us move quickly. And so having these things where the interfaces into the team and the membership are consistent is going to allow our team members to move much faster, be trained faster, and move across the access points in a much speedier way. And we're not there, but that's now a dedicated mission for us.
So when you add the kind of cross-functional approach and the fact that people are willing to help, and then you add to that this requirement for emotional intelligence, which is empathy and relating to the members, are you doing that type of training too? Because you basically are moving people from a transaction type job to now more of an advisor role, or has that been going on for a while?
Yeah, for the probably last 3 years, we have been training people and certifying people to be financial health coaches. In 2020, we certified 30 more team members. So that's been part of our mission objectives for a while. But we made good progress of that in 2020. So I think over time, our expectation is that financial coaching is going to be in the forefront of all the interactions. And then the transactions are just going to be what people need to do, and they need to be done well, they need to be done quickly, but the interactions are going to be much more around financial coaching, whether it's, first-time home buyers, car buyers, or whether it is problem situations that they need help working their way out of, or whether it is just easy advice as well as investment advice. We're really moving much toward our delivery system to be into the financial coaching systems. So
I believe that will help bridge this gap as well, because if you can help me dig out, I believe you're giving me a path to the future.
Yeah, and we're trying to do it in a way that we're not telling people what to do, but we're trying to do it as a true advisor to show them how it can make a difference and how their choices can make a difference. But they have to believe and they have to make the choices. We can't make it for them, but we can be there side by side, encouraging them along the way, suggesting things, and let them see the successes that they have. Because when that happens, it's, it helps people. And when you help more people, it helps our communities.
Absolutely. I was talking actually to the Balance people, and they were talking about, Cynthia Campbell mentioned that there's financial shame associated with different situations. And if we can help people realize that it's just one choice and the next choice and the path to financial security or potentially the future, that really resonated with me. And I like the term financial coaching. It's like we seek coaches in other parts of our lives. Why don't we seek it in our financial life?
Well, and I think, I understand the financial shame of it. I think where it makes a difference is the people connection around that. So, one of the things we shifted to, I guess in 2019, is to a financial well-being member survey instead of a member satisfaction survey. And we use the Gallup methodology for that. And it was a lifesaver in 2020. And I will tell you, some of our member comments, they would make you cry. That they were choosing between making a payment or feeding their family. I mean, you would get comments that would just break your heart. And every time we got one of those comments, we sent it to one of our financial coaches to talk. Okay, you said this. Let's figure out how to help you. How do we get through this? And that's kind of one of the ways that we used our people who were certified to do these kinds of discussions. And part of that training absolutely is empathy and approachability. You have to, the people who are serving in this way really matter, and they make a huge difference.
I was just thinking that this is a new, if you will, skill set for people as well, so that as an employer, as a team member, I would feel the value of the work I do. So it's not only helping the members, but to me, it would enrich my commitment to you, to the organization, and to knowing that I do the right work. It's I appreciate that. In fact, I talked to John Fenton, and he told me that he was in the Gallup. I don't know. Are you guys collaborating there? Oh, that's cool. Yeah. He was like such a believer, and I said, well, you want me to post it up there? And he says, yes, get everybody involved. So, and I saw your face light up too. So good for you guys. I mean, the whole idea of treating the whole person and really feeling like that you have a partner, it makes so much sense. So when you look at what you'd like to say to the industry, are there, a couple of ideas that we could put into action?
Well, I honestly believe in the idea of designing yourself as one channel with full integration of people and tools. And that's well past, I think, the things that have been talked about up until this point. I think it's bigger than, again, the omni-channel concept. The other thing I would say is, and this is more advice. I don't know if it's not a big idea at all. I'm don't necessarily consider myself a big idea person, but I do believe wholeheartedly of playing the long game, not the short game. And the long game to me is member and membership value. So if you're financially able, meaning if you have sufficient capital, you got to stick to your mission and you got to stick to your purpose. And don't over-engineer your financials for 2021 performance, because you're going to rob the future if you do that. So my advice would be, if you can, play the long game, don't play the short game. And it's so easy for people to worry about the short game. Now, honestly, if your capital is under extreme stress, you got to play the short game. I get that. But, you know, still, if you're between 8 and 9%, you got to look at the value and really focus on that and make sure that you're not really robbing Peter to pay Paul for 1 year's worth of performance. So that would be a piece of advice I would give. You know, the other thing is, I really think the only difference that credit unions really have is our purpose. And our purpose should be the mission of financial health. There are things we can do and will do that others will not. And if you set up a structure to fulfill that aspect of your mission, I think amazing things happen for individuals, and then amazing things happen for communities. And the closer we stick to that differentiation, I think the better off as an industry we are, but the better off as community pillars we will be in serving the members in our communities. I will tell you, last year, in the last 20 years, we had the highest membership growth rate we ever had. I can't figure it out, to be honest with you, because it was not indirect lending, but we grew over 8.5% membership. And every year for the last 5 years, our membership growth has been picking up to hit about 8.5% in 2020. I read industry articles that said credit unions dropped from an average of 3% down to like 1%. I think some of the economists were indicating that. And yet our membership was going up and up. Our biggest membership growth is member referrals. And I believe we only have that because of our attention to mission performance.
Well, back in the days when we had a common bond and people were able to talk about, you know, their affinity to their organizations, what you've been able to do is create that same environment, even in a community that has diverse people from different walks of life, businesses. You know, you made the comment about big ideas, and the thing that your talent and what I've admired you for many years is that not only do you have, I believe, big ideas and strategic influence, but you also know how to execute. And that is a quality, Erin, that is so, from my perspective, so strategically needed in our industry. I think that we have a tendency to either be, if you will, tactical, or we've got these big ideas. But even when we look at some of the events that have happened over the last year and the formation of DEI Collective, and there's different efforts that we're going to put together, and there's big ideas and formation, but it's the execution. It's the, measurement, not again from the metric standpoint of necessarily, okay, we're going to check that box, but more because if we're going to invest our time and our talent, we have to see a return for any of us to feel that value. So you have a skill set that is, I work with a lot of organizations, and I have to tell you that I admire it. I think you're one of the most talented people in being able to see a vision and then stay true to that purpose and then execute towards it. So.
Well, thank you for that. But I will say, I have a wonderful executive leadership team who are equally as skilled in that. Yeah. And, if there was one word to me that makes that successful, it's the word focus. Because if you get too many things, or you ricochet things around, it's hard for people to follow flavor of the month or flavor of the year. And so you do have to tweak and you do have to update, but you gotta stay true to certain principles and concepts that you're trying to achieve. And so that, you know, when you're going down a road like this, you're going to go a little like this. You just don't want to go like this, because that's hard for people to follow. But I do, you know, I have a very talented executive team. I would also tell you, you know, I think the one thing that is Patelco's strength, one of the things that is Patelco's strength is absolutely its people. We have people who believe in our mission, and we hire for that, we screen for that, and then you let people, while they're intellectually competent, their heart is much more competent. And so the connection of that makes our mission work. The other thing is we are in a very diverse set of communities in the Bay Area. And at every level of our organization, and I mean every level, we mirror our communities, and we have great diversity of gender as well as different ethnic backgrounds. And it's at every single layer. It's not just that one layer, it's every single layer. And it's not because someone told us we needed to do DEI. It's because these are our communities. We need to be from our communities, for our communities, and we make sure that we represent and we can serve our communities, because we got to connect with a lot of different aspects of people. And you can't do that if you limit your aspects of people. So we really do have great diversity here. And again, at all levels, and it makes connections with the membership that are the right type of connections, I think. So.
Now, I think that when you said focus, it just resonated with me, because there's synergy when there's focus. If that core fundamental belief, right, you said community is one of your pillars, and if mission is truly the core belief, then there's synergy around that, and then all the other stuff that we're juggling and coming up, it sounds like you guys were able to then come back, what's our mission, what's our purpose? So, oh my goodness. Well, any final thoughts? Before I get you to lean in and say, I am a credit union?
You know, I just hope that everyone is very well in 2021, that we stay energetic, we stay positive, we stay purposeful, and we do what we need to do as a credit union. And if we keep doing that, you know, we can change people's lives and make a difference. And I don't know about you, but I'm here to make a difference. And I think we can. And we do.
Well, I appreciate it, and I love the positive attitude. You've filled my glass today, so I appreciate it very much.